Good morning, everyone. Hope you're doing well today. Um, I want to talk today about something that I've been kind of researching, and I've discovered that I haven't really talked about this topic before. So I wanted to surprise you and talk about it because I think it's very, very important to our faith, and that's called Angels Among Us. And we'll get more into that, but basically about angels. They're spiritual being because many people today don't understand who angels are and what they do and how they affect our lives today. So I want to kind of get into that. I'll start off with a funny little story that kind of gives an example of this. There's a woman who was walking down the street one day and she heard a voice yell out, "Stop! If you take one more step, you'll be killed." Well, the woman stopped, and seconds later, a brick fell right where she had been and landed in her path. Well, a minute or two later, after that, she was ready to cross the street. And then the same voice yelled, "Halt! Don't cross the street now." And at that moment, an out of control beer truck careened around the corner and didn't even slow down as it ran the red light where she would have been. Well, by this time, the woman was kind of shaking, and she asked out loud, "Well, who are you?" And the voice replied, "I'm your guardian angel." The woman said, "My guardian angel? Well, in that case, you've got a lot of explanation to do." Angel said, "Okay, what do you want to know?" The woman said, "Well, first of all, where were you on my wedding day?" Read into that all you want. I think that's funny, no matter what. Well, anyway, United Methodist hymnal just filled. If you look at the back in the back of it, or even look on Google, if you will, it's just filled with references to angels. And we sing them so easily. Angels we have heard on high, and the list goes on about angels, but we really don't think about them that much in this sense. We see a lot of them on shows and movies on TV. For example, remember that show Touched by an Angel? Well, because of that, we all know that angels are actually women with British accents, if we take that literally. And then there's that movie Angels in the Outfield. And I'm going back in time a little bit here. And angels are now baseball coaches. That's what they're supposed to be, I guess. And then we have that movie Michael, the angel. Has anybody seen that one? Well, that was because, of course, we have John Travolta, the movie star, who played the angel Michael, who drinks beer, who chain smokes, picks up women, and loves to dance. Then we have that favorite Christmas movie, It's a Wonderful Life. Remember that? That's a classic we watch every season. And what was the name of that angel? Clarence, if you can't remember his name. Clarence. And what happens every time the bell rings? Well, then we know what that happened. And then we have in our lives, we have those Christmas cards, and we have the wonderful, beautiful paintings on the wall that we see that the Christmas cards are made up, really. And then we have TV ads with little plump, naked baby angels playing a harp on a cloud. That's what we have. So I guess all those theological shows really helps us become experts on angels. And of course, I'm being tongue in cheek here because that's exactly what they're not. But that's how the image is anyway. So we need to understand, according to Scripture, angels are God's servants. Now, they're supernatural beings that created by God for God's glory. They do the work of God. And now what's interesting is, although they're very unlikely, most likely right here in this room where you are right now and where I am right now surrounding me, because in the spirit world, there are most likely angels there outside of our eyesight. And what's hard for us to grasp is that there are times when angels actually show up looking like human beings. We see this happen many times in the Bible. For example, in Genesis 18, Abraham was just out hanging out by a tree, just not standing around. And three guys show up, were spiritual beings from heaven. But Abraham thought that they were just regular guys. So he feeds them. He didn't even realize who was really in front of him. In the very next chapter, in Genesis 19, something similar happens again. A man named of Lot in Sodom meets two strangers one day, and he thought they were just traveling through. And they had no place to spend the night, so he invited them into his tent. He didn't realize that right there in front of him were two angels from God. And apparently, this happens on a regular basis even today, because in Hebrews 13:2, let me read it to you. Do not forget to show hospitality to strangers, for by so doing, some people have shown hospitality to angels without knowing it. So we're going to look at two main questions here. If you'll stick with me on this one, is who are angels and what do they do? Well, first of all, who are angels? Well, there are basically three things. Angels are worshipers. Over and over again in the Bible, we find angels worshiping God. In fact, Scripture says in Hebrews 1:6, when God brings his firstborn into the world, he says, let all God's angels worship him. So angels worship God, and they worship Jesus the Christ. In fact, the Scripture says in Revelations, then I looked and heard voices of many angels, numbering thousands upon thousands, and 10,000 times 10,000. Well, I did a little bit of math. That's a lot of angels. 10,000 times 10,000 is 100 million. So there's not just a few, there's a whole bunch of angels. They encircle the throne and the living creatures and the elders. In a loud voice they were saying, quote, worthy is the Lamb who was slain to receive power and wealth and wisdom and strength and honor and glory and praise. Thousands among thousands circling the throne. Just image that if you can. So angels are worshipers. But then angels, the second thing, are also warriors. They're fierce warriors, battling on behalf of God. Scripture says in Revelations again, and there was war in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon and his angels fought back. Now that's where Lucifer comes in, the archangel that turned against God. So whenever you see angels fighting a war in the Bible, it mentions all the time Michael as the head of the army. He's the top warrior angel. Now, what's even more important to know is that angels are fighting for us who are the children of God, the believers. There's a great story in 2 Kings, chapter 6. Look it up. At the time of history, the most powerful king in the Middle East was a guy by the name of Aram. Now, and the king of Aram was at war with Israel, trying to take over the country. At the time of the story, he was really mad because it seemed like someone was leaking the secret battle plans to the army of Israel. And he was outfoxed one time after the other. And the king of Aram couldn't figure it out. He got so frustrated, and he told his bodyguards, I want you to find who's the traitor, who's leaking my battle plans to Israel. And one of the advisors said, O king, there's nobody leaking information to Israel. It's that troublemaker Elisha. Now, Elisha, as we know, if we know our Bible a little bit, is the prophet of God. And God is telling him the plans that you make, they said, and then he tells your plans to Israel. In fact, Elisha even knows the things that you whisper in your bedroom at night. Now, you could just imagine this made the king a little unhappy. The king said, okay, I want you to find out where this Elisha guy is, and I want you to kill him. Well, the whole army of Aram found out that Elisha and his servant were gone to a city of Dothan in Israel. So they sent the army with all the horses and chariots, and they surrounded this city to get Elisha. Now let's pick up the story now in 2 Kings, the 6th chapter. Elisha's servant, the servant of God, it says, a man of God, got up and went out early in the morning, and an army of horses and chariots had surrounded the city. So his servant saw it. So he runs as fast as he can and gets Elisha and shows him the army out there. Ask him, What are we going to do? I mean, he's hysterical, probably. We're going to die. The city is surrounded by this huge army. What are we going to do? And Elisha responds this way: Don't be afraid. Those who are with us are more than those who are with them. What did he mean by that? And Elisha prayed, Lord, open his eyes so that he may see. Then the Lord opened the spiritual eyes of the servant, and he looked out and saw the hills filled with horses and chariots of fire all around Elisha, outnumbering the army of Aram. If God did the same thing right now, if he opened our eyes to see the spiritual, what do you think we'll see all around us? In case you haven't figured it out, there's a whole other dimension in this world that most people have no clue about. We tend to think of it, if we can't see it, it's not there. If I can't hear it, touch it, or smell it, then it doesn't exist. But it's there. So angels are worshipers. Angels are warriors. And thirdly, angels are messengers. Over and over again in Scripture, when you see an angel show up, they come with a message from God and for God's people. Whenever the message is extremely important, in other words, when it's about Jesus, most likely, you'll see the angel Gabriel delivering the message. Remember the story back in the birth? He brings messages to Daniel and to the father of John the Baptist and even to Mary, the mother. So Gabriel is clearly the highest ranking messenger. But there's other messenger angels who bring messages to Gideon, Hagar, Jacob, Zechariah, and a whole bunch more in the Bible. Pay attention to that. It's fascinating. There's nothing in the Bible that says they stopped doing this. They're still delivering messages today, though that we may not realize it's happening. Angels are worshipers, angels are warriors, and angels are delivering of messages from God. So let's look at the second question. What do angels do? How can you actually benefit us in our life here today? Well, the first thing, number one, is that angels often give you directions. They can guide you and give you way to go when you're perplexed. A great example is in Numbers 22. It's kind of a funny story, one of my favorite stories, actually. It just shows the humor of God and shows the power of God. It really is. It's a neat story. Balaam. You know the story, hopefully, by just saying that name. He got up one morning early, saddled a donkey, and went with the Moabite officials. But God was very angry when he went, and the angel of the Lord stood in the road to oppose him. Now Balaam was riding on his donkey, and his two servants were with him. But when that donkey saw the angel of the Lord standing in the road with a drawn sword in his hand, it turned off the road in fright. Well, this guy Balaam was going in the wrong direction, doing something God did not want him to do and been telling him not to do that. So God sent an angel to redirect him. Balaam couldn't see the angel, but the donkey did. The donkey sees this fierce angel and decides, I don't want any part of this, and goes off the trail. Well, 3 times this happened, and Balaam got really mad and beat on the donkey and all kind of stuff. But he did not want to go around that sword. And apparently God felt sorry for the little donkey because God gave the donkey the ability to talk. Oh, what a marvelous moment. So the donkey says, Balaam, I thought we were buddies, man. Haven't I been your faithful little donkey for all these years? Here's the crazy part of the whole story. Balaam answered him. Then all of a sudden, when he did, the scripture says that the God opened up Balaam's eyes, like Elisha's servant. And then he could finally see the angel in a spiritual dimension. And he actually bowed down to the angel, and then the angel spoke to him. And what's interesting, what the angel said this, basically, Balaam, if you'd gone any further, I was going to kill you, but I wasn't going to kill the donkey. That's pretty much what he said. And Balaam couldn't see it till his eyes were opened. And maybe you can't see it, but you're being directed. Angels do a lot of things, and one of the things they do is give us direction. Angels protect you from danger. We just heard that. Angels direct you. And angels can protect you, but they also can minister to you. They can minister God's love and healing and power to you. In Hebrews chapter 1:14, it says this: Are not all angels ministering spirits sent to serve those who inherit salvation? They are ministering spirits. One time, Jesus went it 40 days without eating any food, and then Satan shows up, the archangel Lucifer, and tempts him 3 different times. And by the end of it, he was physically and spiritually exhausted. And then what happened? What does it say in Matthew 4? Then the devil left him, and behold, angels came and ministered to him. We kind of go past that when we read that. At those times when you really need help, angels can strengthen you. That's what they do. Maybe it was because of an angel of the Lord came and gave you strength and hope inside of your heart and whispering in your spiritual ears. Here's my challenge to you. You be an angel of the Lord to those around you. For God has surrounded you by his angels. So why not join? And why not be an angel of mercy and forgiveness to this world? I close with a true story and hope you take this to heart. Marie Monsen was born in 1878 in Sandviken, Norway, and died in 1962. And she was a Norwegian missionary active in North and Central China between 1901 and 1932, a long time. One night, bandits surrounded the mission compound in the city where she was staying. There were hundreds of women and children in the compound. Now, Miss Monsen had gone down with malaria the night before, and she was being plagued by really questions such as, what will you do when the looters come here? Or when the fire begins in the compound, what about those promises you made to them? And then she replied, Lord, I have been teaching these young people all these years about your promises that are true, and they fell now. My mouth will be closed forever if you don't listen. I must then go home. Well, she was up all through the night ministering to the frightened refugees and encouraged them to pray and trust God. Though horrible things happened outside the compound, the bandits left the mission compound alone. In the morning, 3 different families from the neighborhood asked this question: who were those 4 people sitting and one standing who watched from the top of your house all night long? When she told them that no one had been on the housetop, they didn't believe her. They said, we saw them with our own eyes. She then told them that God still sends angels to guard his children in their hour of danger. I close with a song there in Nashville. Those who are in the country city, if you will, by the group Alabama. You may have heard the song called Angels Among Us. Allow me to tell you one verse in the chorus, but to remind us of what we're talking about. When the life held troubled times and had me down on my knees, there's always been someone to come along and comfort me. A kind word from a stranger to lend a helping hand. A phone call from a friend just to say, I understand. But ain't it kind of funny at the dark end of the road that someone lights the way with just a single ray of hope? Oh, I believe there are angels among us, sent down to us from somewhere up above. They come to you and to me in our darkest hours to show us how to live, to teach us how to give, to guide us with the light of love. Be the angel as a light of love. The Lord bless you today. See you later.